Welcome back. We're back in the man cave. This time it's back to normal, I suppose, really. Back to storytelling, I suppose you could say, really. This time the title is The Devonshire Connection. Well, it's a Duke of Devonshire that we're talking about here. And I realise a lot of people know that Chatsworth House, which is not so far away from here, belongs to, or at least it's the residence of the Duke of Devonshire. It belongs to a trust now, and it's been run mainly for the public. Is the Chatsworth estate, but a lot of people don't realise just how many connections there are with the Dukes of Devonshire over the years, over the centuries, and how close to my little village here those connections come. So I'm going to try and address that in this video and try and make it interesting as well, as I always do. So have a look through it as usual, and if you enjoy it, if you find it interesting, perhaps you could give us a thumbs up again. And well, I know it's an old one now, but if you could subscribe, if you've not already subscribed, it really would be magic. Okay, so anyway, see what you think as usual, and yeah, tell me afterwards. Tell me what you think. Tell me if I could do things better. I do enjoy seeing comments, and I always reply to them, provided I see them in the first place, that is. But anyway, see what you think. Cheers. Bye for now. Well, good morning, good people, and welcome back to my humble little channel. We're just entering the grounds of Chatsworth House. As you'll know from the title, this is the Devonshire Connection. Well, it's a Duke of Devonshire Connection, to be precise. Chatsworth House is the showpiece property of the Devonshires, and all this parkland we're passing through at the minute is all land appertaining to and belonging to Chatsworth House. We get a nice view from here across the parkland of Chatsworth House itself. Not going into the house. What I want to do with this little video is just show what the connections are with the Dukes of Devonshire. There's the house now coming into view, with the Dukes of Devonshire and my area, if you like. This house as it stands, this is the third version, if you like, of Chatsworth House that we can see across there, and this was built at the behest, if you like. I'll just pull in here so we can see. It says years ago behind the trees. Paid for, if you like. I mean, they call it built by, don't they? The first Duke of Devonshire in the 1750s. It was preceded by two other houses, one of which was used by Mary Queen of Scots quite often. Yes, William Cavendish. The family name of the Devonshires is Cavendish, and it was William Cavendish, the first Duke of Devonshire, who had the house as it stands built. You can see the fountain, and you can see some of the gardens. I don't know whether the camera will show it up as well as you can see it by looking at it, but the gardens were developed by Capability Brown, great designer of gardens, and it's the property of a trust, the Devonshire Trust, I think it's called, and it's basically held for the benefit of the public, because it is open to the public. The grounds, the hall, well, Chatsworth House, and it is an impressive place. I have to be honest, we're talking in the vicinity of Bakewell at the minute, and there is another hall within the vicinity of Bakewell. It's a few miles away from us, Haddon Hall. That's more impressive because it gives more of a sense of age. Look at these up on the left here. Fallow deer up there. Extensive grounds. There are still 2 villages locally that are effectively still estate villages, where the properties all belong to the Devonshire estate. First one is this one. We're just going to go in briefly. We passed through this a couple of times on my green laning expeditions. This is the village of Edensor, and you'll notice that as we just pass around the green, the properties are all painted with a subtle dark green colour, almost a very dark turquoise really. But all the estate properties are painted, the woodwork the same colour. It is a very attractive village, hence the number of visitors we get, particularly on a sunny day like today, because we have got some decent weather at last. So yes, that's the village of Edensor, pronounced locally as Enser. Now, virtually all the farmland within quite a radius, effectively, of Chatsworth House belongs to the estate as well, and the produce, whether it be meat, dairy, is sold at the estate shop. Now the shop is up behind us. I'm not going up onto the grounds with the shop, but this is the other village that belongs to the estate. This is Pilsley. Devonshire Arms. Funny story about the Devonshire Arms. I worked with the coaches for 16 years in the north of Scotland, as far north as Shetland on occasions, and I honestly thought that working so far north I would stand a very good chance of getting a decent sighting of the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. A French gentleman doesn't know where he's going. But all I got, in all the years I worked up there, all I ever saw was a very, very dim green glow on the horizon. But it's not the end of the world, because I think it was 1992 or thereabouts, I used to sit on various committees with the BMC, the British Mountaineering Council, and we had a meeting here. Meetings all took place in pubs. Meeting here at the Devonshire Arms, and on the way back across the moors back to my village, I was a passenger. My good mate Dave was driving, and he said, I won't use his exact words, but what the hell is that? Looking across to the left in the sky, and it was the most beautiful sighting of the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, all the way down here. and it was fantastic. It was the best I've seen represented anywhere. It was the full curtain, the fluted curtain, changing colour from green to red to blue to green, and it was amazing. And once you've seen that, they can't take it away from you. Back in those days, I was still the village policeman where I live, and we got back to the village. It was still opening time. We got back to the village, and I went stalking straight into the pub in the village, the Greyhound, and I said, "Come on, everybody outside now! Just come and have a look at this." And for whatever reason, they used to take notice of me back in the village, and everybody trooped out, so they looked in the skies and, "Wow, what's that?" And I said, "That's the Aurora Borealis." I said, "You are?" I said, "Northern Lights, you've heard of the North?" Wow! And they still talk about it to this day. Yeah, so even though I never saw the Northern Lights as such from the north of Scotland where you'd expect to see it, I'd already got my sighting safely tucked away in the memory. So anyway, that was Pilsley. That's the second of the estate villages here at Chatsworth. Now I'm going to switch off now because we're going to transfer a little bit further north for the next part of the story. So I'll speak to you a little bit later. Well, welcome back. We're just coming into what we consider in this area to be our metropolis. This is Buxton. We're coming into the spa town. Certainly a source of well-known well water, Buxton water. And here in Buxton, the Devonshires, or the Dukes of Devonshire, the 4th Duke of Devonshire in particular, built or paid to have built 2 particular properties that are really very impressive. No, not Aldi. No Waitrose. But you might be able to make out, they're almost directly in front of us now, a dome. There's a clock tower to the right, and then there's a dome just behind the trees. We're going to have a closer look at that. Because that was built again 1780 thereabouts, during the 1780s anyway, as the 4th Duke of Devonshire's stables. It was at one time the largest unsupported dome in the world, and they were his stables. That's the Palace Hotel up there. He didn't build the Palace Hotel. So yes, that was his stables up on the right. Eventually became the Devonshire Hospital, which was where I used to come for physiotherapy when I first hurt my back. But we're going to show something else off. This wasn't the work of the Devonshires, but this is Buxton's Opera House. To our right at the minute. It's a beautiful, beautiful theatre, is the Buxton Opera House. We've been to various different concerts and shows here. Marvellous place. It is a very attractive town, is Buxton, really, when you look at it objectively. But this is the other absolute masterpiece. Again, late 1700s. This is the Crescent Hotel, and it replicates the Crescent in Bath. It fell into disrepair a good few years ago, but it was a fortune was spent on it, and it was reopened as a hotel in 2020. So yes, that's the Crescent Hotel, and it is a real showpiece, an absolute showpiece. Just going to take a photograph and I'll be back with you. That photo is taken. Now you can see the two people over at the well. That's St Anne's Well, that is. That's where the very, very high quality spring water is comes straight out the ground. There's quite often a queue of people with big bottles filling up with particularly pure water. Yes, St Anne's Well. So now we'll have a closer look at the dome. It's currently an annex of Derby University. Is the dome on our right? It is a fantastic building. There's no doubt about it. But as I said, it was built originally as the fourth Duke stables. Very flamboyant stables, but stables all the same. And then eventually it became the Cavendish Hospital, which it was for many, many years. So as you can see, that was the clock tower that we could see from the distance, and you can see the dome. So we'll have a closer look at it. So we'll take a sneaky look inside. And this is the inside. And the dome above us. What a fantastic place. So that was as near as they could get to the inside of what used to be the Duke's stables, then the Cavendish Hospital, and now the University Annex. And the next thing I'll show you is where the 4th Duke got the money from to pay for this little lot. So we'll switch off for now. I'll see you again shortly. I know. Stop calling me shortly. Well, welcome back again. We're almost back to my house. But before we get there, over on the left, on the other side of the valley, is a big grassy lump. And that's known as, or it's called Acton Hill. E-C-T-O-N. Acton Hill. And that hill, I've mentioned it before, I know I have in a previous video, but it's like, in some ways, it's like an aero bar, and it's full of holes beneath the surface. And those holes, generally speaking, are shafts, adits and soughs that served numerous copper mines from way back in the 1700s. The copper was mined in that hill over the way until around about 1900. But the biggest of the mines was owned by and operated by the Duke of Devonshire, or the Dukes of Devonshire, subsequent Dukes of Devonshire, up until about 1900. And the amount of copper and the quality of the copper that came out of that hill opposite was really very good, which is the reason he was able to make so much money from his mining operations, which ultimately paid for those buildings I've showed you in Buxton. It wasn't just himself that was responsible for abusing child labour. It was prevalent at the time anyway. But shall we just say that the mine owners, the Duke himself included, did very well out of the hardship of others. Now there are one or two little bits of evidence at the roadside down here, but I'm going to try and show you a little bit more up on the hill itself. A lot of this stuff here, the stonework, the remains of stonework here, this is all part and parcel of a creamery that was here. This was the railway line used to run through down below us, and there was quite a sizable creamery that made produced dairy produce. There's a hole in the just over the fence there. That's Birch's Level, and that was used as a storage facility for the cheeses that were made here. Nice and cold inside there. It doesn't go back very far. It was understood to be what we call a trial level, where the miners were known as the old man, or oud mon, as they called them around here. And they were responsible for opening up the levels and shafts. And that's another entrance. That entrance does go in quite some way into the main workings, just on the right there. So I'm going to try and show you a little bit more So leave it with me. And I'll see you in a few minutes. Well, we've come some distance up from the road and we're part way up the side of the hill, but you can see what a fantastic view it is down to the valley below. The building with the green spire, given the amount of copper there was in the ground, it's understandable that spire is encased in copper plating, which goes green with time, with oxidisation. That house, quite a grand looking place, often referred to as Acton Folly. It's a strange building, built by a local MP who was a little bit crazy in many people's eyes. But as we go round, you might be able to make out the middle distance. Spoil heaps on the far side of the valley. It's a strange situation here because over on the far side of the valley there were numerous mines where lead was extracted. All over the place was lead mines. There's only one odd place hereabouts where copper was extracted, and that's this hill we're on at the minute. This is Acton Hill, and through the trees you can see another spoil heap that's that was dug out from one of the levels that we're going to walk past in just a very short time. Now this is one of the many levels into the hill. It's been gated now, securely gated, so the only people who can get in there are people that are entitled to. You can see the small hole, top left hand corner. That's to allow the colony of Dor Benton's bats to get in and out. Very, very, very tightly protected these days. Back in the 80s when I took up caving and potholing, I spent many happy hours inside these mine operations, these mining remains, shall we say, exploring, finding artifacts, if you like, that were left behind by the miners. We left them there. It was just nice to see them, to be honest. And then we carry on a little bit further up to another piece of engineering. Now this is known as the engine house. In this house, the stationary steam engine, and these steam engines were used partly to haul the ore to the surface, and partly, some of them, to pump the water out from the bottom of the mine workings. And it was the water in the mine workings that spelled the death knell to the mine operations, because it became too difficult and too expensive to remove the water. So the mines were closed down around about 1900, and it was decided it was cheaper to actually import the copper, even though it's lesser quality, from overseas. So that's the engine house as we know it. Now what I wanted to show you here is these innocuous looking holes in the ground. Yeah, 300 feet down to water level, and then 600 feet below water level. So these shafts are actually in the region of 900 feet deep. Really serious holes in the ground are these. Dangerous places, well fenced off, and justifiably so. Now these mines, the two main mine operations were Acton Deep Mine and Clayton Mine. One was owned by the Duke of Sutherland, or the Dukes of Sutherland I should say. The other was owned by the Burgoyne family, and they made the two families one heck of a lot of money. But that's the Acton copper mines. It's a little bit of a short form of story, but that's what it's all about. So with that, we'll head off down again. Cheers. Well, that's about it for this one, people. Just heading up to my village now, and once again, thanks very much for watching. I do hope you found it interesting, maybe even enjoyable. But if you could see within your way to give us a thumbs up, that'd be nice. And what would be even nicer is that if anybody who hasn't already subscribed, if you could do the necessary. It doesn't cost anything, it is free, and it does help my little channel. So until the next one, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.